Hi, and welcome to my website. My name is Miles Wiedmann, and I am a current high school student with an interest in reading, writing, and all things English, so when given the opportunity in my AP Language and Composition class to create a passion project, I chose to do it on this. This year, I bought a poster that looks like this. It's a book bucket list of 100 classics and modern classics that you scratch off, revealing a small image each time you complete one of the books. Despite the inclusion of a huge variety in genre, year published, length, topic, and pretty much every other factor, I was disappointed to see that the selection of authors was overwhelmingly white, male, and from Europe or America. Looking at just the first 50 books on the list, 78% of the authors were male, and 86 were white. Literature is supposed to be a way to help us understand the world and other people's perspectives, and classic literature is a large part of English education. But when lists of classics are so dominated by just one demographic, who do these English classes really cater to? We need to diversify the classics we teach and the ways that we teach them in order to engage students and expose them to a larger variety of perspectives. Many students graduate high school having studied just a few books by non-white authors, or even none at all. In England, the largest exam board for secondary school students didn't feature a single book by Black authors on the syllabus. Stacker.com's list of the most common high school required reading books, based on data from Goodreads and input from over 1,000 of their readers, had 9 white males and 1 white female in their top 10. When students do not see themselves represented in literature, they tend to become disinterested in the field. They feel like they don't belong, or simply that classics are boring and unrelatable. In an interview for the Stanford Daily, UC Berkeley student Cece Gao said, "The displacement of not fitting into a protagonistic mold is a feeling that sets in more deeply than we realize," talking about the effect of not being represented in the majority of popular classics, and once again showing the importance of diversity in the literature we teach in schools. Of course, diversity doesn't just boil down to the race or gender of the author, and there's much to be learned from classics, even ones written by white men, because by nature, classics are about their broader themes and transcend the specific circumstances of the characters. But enduring themes are just one part of what makes classics, well, classics. These books also serve as a way to understand time periods and cultures that are different from ours, including those outside of just America and Europe, as well as the culture of minority groups in these areas. These cultures are best understood by authors that are deeply familiar with them, and often the stories of marginalized groups were told only by people belonging to them. However, even this isn't always true. A common example of a white author writing about issues of racism is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This book has been praised for approaching topics of race and generally looking down on racism, which is more than a lot of classics can say, but it still isn't perfect. It places a white savior character at the center of the narrative, a trope which is all too common in progressive books written by white authors. Talking about how that book challenges stereotypes and racism probably isn't going to be eye-opening for anyone, because we already know that these are bad things. But if you instead make the discussion about how the presence of a white savior in the book somewhat contradicts the anti-racism message it wants to send, the conversation not only becomes more engaging, but also more nuanced. It teaches us that, consciously or not, authors sometimes put things in their books that go against the message that they want to convey. In the end, whether or not this book broadens the perspective of students comes down to how you discuss it. In fact, that is true for pretty much any book. If you click on the tab on this website labeled Reading, I have created a short list of classics by a diverse array of authors that are from a variety of genres, time periods, and countries. But I'm not saying that these have to replace every required reading book written by a white man. I'm not asking you to throw out the 30 copies of The Great Gatsby you have sitting in your classroom. These books still have plenty to offer. That's why, if you click on the Discussions and Activities tab, I've written a small list of ways to discuss and otherwise engage with these works that allow for students to share their own perspectives and still learn meaningful messages from studying them. The sources page includes every article or other resource that I used for this video. I encourage you to read some of them if you want to know more. Thanks for checking out my project, and I hope I've made a change, however small, in the world of classic literature and how it's taught.